Hello students, welcome to my botany class. Today we'll discuss the embryo development in monocots. In my previous video lecture, I have already discussed about the dicot embryogeny in capsula, and this monocot embryogeny is studied in the plant called Sagittaria. Let's start with the zygote first. The zygote divides as usual by the first transverse division, and it forms two unequal cells. As you can see, towards micropyle is a basal or suspensor cell, and towards the chalaza is apical or embryonal cell. We could draw this opposite because most of the times the ovules are anatropous and we can see the micropyle down. So this you can see that is the basal cell or suspensor cell I am drawing towards micropyle, and the apical or the terminal embryonal cell is towards the chalaza. Now what is the next step? This apical cell or embryonal cell divides by a transverse division and forms a three-celled proembryo. What does it form? It forms a three-celled proembryo. How? Towards chalaza, this apical cell forms a terminal cell and the other is a middle cell. So these are the two cells it forms. Terminal cell towards chalaza and middle cell. Now what are their functions? As you can see, I have already written it here that the terminal cell forms a cotyledon which is called scutellum. Middle cell forms the embryonal axis. Now the development would be such that the terminal cell starts growing a bit towards the left-hand side, and that forms a scutellum, whereas the middle cell, it overgrows towards the right-hand side and it's going to form the embryonal axis. Basal cell. Now this suspensor of the basal cell, in case of dicot embryogeny, if you remember, there was several transverse divisions and it would form a long suspensor, 6 to 10 cell suspensor. But in case of monocots, there is no such division and the basal cell forms one single vesicular suspensor. No divisions. It just simply absorbs the nourishment directly. So that means the suspensor is not long and is unable to push the embryo in monocots, unlike dicots. So this is a very big difference which you see here. Now let us move on to the terminal cell, how it behaves. Now this terminal cell divides to form shield-shaped cotyledon, which is called scutellum. The monocot cotyledon is shield-shaped, called as scutellum, and as you can see in the figure or diagram, that this is the scutellum formed by the terminal cell, whereas this part you can see is the embryonal axis, which is formed by the middle cell, and this is that one cell vesicular suspensor cell. So this is how it looks like during the development stage, monocot embryo. Now when it grows further, it looks like this. You can take a screenshots of these diagrams, and it is also there in your books and NCERT. Now this you can see how it looks like. This scutellum has grown and it has become like this, shield shaped. Now what I am drawing here is the embryonal axis. Now this embryonal axis, where the cotyledon or the scutellum arises from, this point is called the cotyledonary node. This is called as cotyledonary node. Just above the node is called the epicotyle. Cotyledon arising point just above that is called epicotyle, and the point below is called hypocotyle, that is lower to the cotyledon. Now in this embryonal axis, this epicotyle actually forms a plumule. So just above this plumule part, you can see this is the plumule. I have written the plumule here, and just above the plumule part you can see green. I have drawn with a green. This is a kind of sheath. This sheath is nothing but the extension of the scutellum itself, and this sheath is very unique to the monocots, and it is called as coleoptile. You can look carefully. I'll repeat again. This is the plumule, and just above this sheath is called coleoptile. This entire part above the cotyledonary node is called epicotyle. Going below, now just below the cotyledonary node, as I said, this is the hypocotyle. This is hypocotyle, and in this you can see there's a radical, there's a root cap, radical root cap. So these points are there marked already in the diagram, and this sheath which covers this radical root cap is now called coleorhiza. Again, unique in case of monocot embryo. So coleoptile, coleorhiza were not there in the dicots. One more thing you can notice here, a small structure here. This is called epiblast. I've put a star here and written here that epiblast is nothing but remains of a cotyledon. It is a rudimentary cotyledon which is found in the grasses. So there was a very clear, this is a clear evidence that there were a higher number of cotyledons. If you remember in the gymnosperms like Pinus, there would be large number of cotyledons, and slowly that means in case of evolution the number of cotyledons have got reduced. In case of dicots which came earlier, there were 2 cotyledons, and then 1 cotyledon got further reduced into what we can see here is epiblast, and that is how the monocots are left with only 1 cotyledon. So that's why they are called monocotyledons. Okay. Now, what is the function of the cotyledon? So I have written here. The function of the cotyledon, basically, you can see that in case of monocots and dicots, they are playing different roles, because in dicots the cotyledons were quite rich and laden with food, because the suspensor was long and it pushed the embryo inside the endosperm. So entire food nutrition went to the cotyledon, so it was laden with food. But the situation is very different in monocots. You can see the transport of the nourishment would be taken up by the scutellum itself, that is the cotyledon itself. Transport of nourishment to the embryonal axis is achieved by the scutellum. From where? From the endosperm. Though because this won't be enough, because scutellum cannot derive so much nutrition, and the suspensor cell, which was one large suspensor cell, that also dies after some time. So therefore there's a large amount of endosperm that remains in the seeds of monocot, and eventually you call the monocot seeds as endospermic or albuminous. So the cotyledonary function in the dicot and monocot are different. So this is one point, and of course the seeds are also different. So let us understand the seed. The seed of the monocot is quite different from the dicots. So how are they different? As you can see, this is the structure or the diagram of a longitudinal section of maize, the most common diagram which we use for the study of monocot seeds, which is endospermic albuminous. Now this LS of the maize seed cut longitudinally, it has a pericarp outside fused with the testa. Testa the seed coat, but the pericarp is here fused. That is because this is a typical kind of fruit which the cereals have: rice, wheat, maize, Poaceae group, that is called as Caryopsis. So the Caryopsis grain, which has a pericarp fused with the testa. Look inside and you will see there's a huge amount of endosperm here, but there's one demarcated line here. This is known as alburon. Alburon is especially the protein layer of the endosperm. Endosperm is triploid, formed by the PEN, primary endosperm nucleus, which was formed by the triple fusion. So hence, since alburon is also part of the endosperm, protein rich layer is also triploid. So this part you need to remember. Moving on from here, you can see also one more thing, that this is a shield-shaped cotyledon, that is scutellum. And since it is a split seed, longitudinally cut, so you can see that this part is plumule and this part is radicle. Plumule is covered by its sheath, that is the coleoptile, and the radicle is covered by the sheath, that is coleorhiza. So these are mentioned here in the diagram, and you need to practice this diagram a few number of times so that you know each and every labelings, and also the proper positions and the shape, etc., because there's a lot number of questions which are asked from this particular section. So with this, one more thing we need to know, that exceptions. So monocot seeds have exceptions like orchids, pothos, which is money plant, and the Vallisneria, that is steppe grass. What is exception? That these are monocots, but they have non-endospermic seeds like dicots. Also, there's an exception of the dicots, castor, cotton, coffee. These are dicots and still they have endospermic seeds. So you need to remember these exceptions. Sometimes the questions are targeted from this. And with this we come to the end of this video lecture, in which you have learned about the monocot embryogeny. So the diagrams you can see, and you can take a screenshot, and then you should try to make the diagrams on your own and practice. Take the help of NCERT book or any other book, because these diagrams are very common and universal. So you can always see from any book and practice. Thank you for now. We'll join with another interesting lecture on botany.